Hey everybody, this is the 50th episode of the Theotek Podcast, and they told us we wouldn't last past 49. But here we are, and we're excited. This is the morning after for Wes. He's already been to see the great new Star Wars flick. Wes, how was it?
What did I say in the comic? There are two rules about Episode 7. You will not talk about Episode 7, and you must go see Episode 7. That's basically the only thing I can say about it.
If you don't know what he's talking about, here's a comic that Wes created to commemorate his seeing Star Wars. Just like Fight Club, don't talk about it, and you must see it. So, tell us, how does it end? No, I don't want to hear how it ends.
What's the time limit for spoilers? What's the time limit? The official time limit?
I'm giving it, because it was so sold out, I'm giving it like a week and a half.
Well, I think the best way to handle talking about Star Wars is, have you seen Star Wars yet? Yes. And then start talking about whatever.
But that's the whole, you can't talk about it. You literally can't talk about it in public without ruining it for everybody.
Yeah, that's right.
And I went with my son and 4 of my friends. I was very impressed with my daughter. She had a project that she had not finished, and she's like, I need to stay home. So one of my other neighbors
you raised a proper young lady.
So she was freaking out about it, but she did it. But so we got in the car after the movie. We all sat down, and we were like, that was awesome. And we almost at the same time went, and we literally can't talk about it.
Not with her around.
Like, as soon as you leave the car, you can't talk about the movie. Like, that's how well they kept all the secrets. It's amazing.
I think that you have to go a year for spoilers, because you not only, a lot of people like me, now I am going to go see this one at the theater, but most movies I don't see at the theater. I see once I can download them on the Apple TV or whatever, and so you have to wait until there's, whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, digital download, you have to wait until after that. So I say give it a year before you can really talk about it publicly, unless you just give massive warnings at the beginning.
And of course, Rick is, like me, going to see it. You said Saturday morning?
Yeah, I'm going Saturday. Well, Saturday afternoon, 12:30.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll be talking about it.
Week and a half.
After
a week and a half. That's it. After that, don't follow me because I'm talking about it in public. Darn it.
Well, I actually have been one of the people who's been avoiding the trailers because I want to just experience it new in the theater, like I did Star Wars. I didn't see very many. I mean, I was 8 years old when Star Wars came out, but I don't want it to be a big. I don't want it to be spoiled. Nowadays, if you watch 5 different trailers, you've seen half the movie. So.
No, I will say this: if you've seen all the and I have watched all the trailers like hundreds of times, right? If you've seen the trailers, it spoils nothing.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I mean, that they I don't know what they did, but it was like Apple type secrecy, only better. And
well, this is as I said at the start, this is our 50th episode, and for 50 episodes, we've talked about church and Bible technology, and of course, general technology. And today, we're going to kind of have an overview sort of look at it. This being the end of the year, this of course is our last episode of the Theotek Podcast for 2015. Next Friday will be Christmas Day, and so we were not going to do one then. And of course, the following Friday is New Year's Day, which is 2016. We still won't do one. So we're actually going to be dark until January the 8th, when we'll have a special guest from Airstream Software, a man named John Linton, and he'll talk about worship tech and worship software, and that'll be sort of interesting to hear. But today we want to kind of, as I titled our episode, a look back to the future. And we're going to look back first, and if we have time at the end, we'll make some predictions about what we think is going to happen in church and Bible technology and general tech for the new year. To get ourselves kicked off for this year, I'm going to start, and you say, well, what was the biggest story of 2015 in church technology? And I think one of them has to be Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft, this is more in the general technology realm of things. Microsoft is an interesting company because I think they're going in 2 different directions. Windows 10 was a wonderful, positive upgrade over Windows 8, in my opinion. I think that most people agree that that was a big positive step forward for desktop and laptop and even tablet computing. They also released the Microsoft Surface Book and Surface Pro 4, and it's outselling. The Surface tablets are outselling the iPad in all, as far as in every measure that I've seen. They're doing better, and that's interesting to me. And I think part of it is because it runs full desktop class software. And by the way, I have a Surface Pro 4 now, and it runs it well. It's very fast. I liked my Surface Pro 3, but this is much faster. So anyway, so it's interesting. Now the other side of that is Windows Phone. And tell me, what do you guys think of the future of Windows Phone?
Is there a future for Windows Phone?
Maybe next year after they release the Surface Phone. The rebranding maybe will give it some traction. I don't know.
But it seems like it's too little too late at this point.
Yeah.
They keep pushing back the update. I mean, it really just keeps going back and back and back and back, and that tells me it's not ready. Now, but Kev, what you said, that actually says something very good about Microsoft, because Microsoft under Ballmer would have pushed it out anyway, and they would have said, yeah, we need to push this out the door. And there's something going on with that Windows 10 Mobile. It might be the thing to turn it into a mini computer with a monitor and whatnot. Maybe some things aren't working right, and they're holding it back. It's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
To me, though, it's well for the company, but not for Windows Phone.
But Microsoft in general, I think you talk about them going in two different directions. I think what they're doing is covering their bases. The stats about the Surface outselling the iPad, that was supposedly for October, and I've actually seen that rebutted because evidently neither company has actually released official data, so these are estimates. But regarding whether it is or not, Microsoft is doing something very smart in that they're putting like Office on multiple platforms. And this reminds me, going all the way back to the 80s when I was a teenager, I could turn on a TRS-80 and I could see Microsoft Basic. I'd turn on the Apple II, I'd see Microsoft Basic. Microsoft was everywhere. And I think we're going back to that Microsoft where it's not just you have to buy this type of device to get Microsoft applications, and I think that's very smart. I mean, on the iPad, I've completely switched to using Word for word processing for documents that I have to share. I used to use Pages and then export them to Word. I still do a lot of my writing in Evernote, but I now open Word documents in Word and export them. I mean, and actually use Word rather than Pages and having to export. So because it's a really good application.
I almost never use word processors at all, and the brief encounters that I've had with Word on the iPad, they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
they really did.
Well, I think that the Surface tablets, the new Surface Pen is every bit as good as the Pencil, and maybe better, just because it has more features and it's easier to keep up with.
Yeah.
They've created a really nice way to attach it to the tablet, and if you're a pocket protector type, put it in your pocket with the clip. As you're looking on screen, this is the one that I've played with, the Pro 4 with the 8 gigs and 256. I said earlier that I have one, but I've played with one is a better.
That's what I was going to ask you. I thought you had one.
I've played with one, and anyway, so it's a real nice. It's just a beautiful tablet, and so.
Microsoft is coming out with they're becoming a really good hardware company, and they've been a decent hardware company for a really long time. A lot of their peripherals that they've put out have been very good, and I think they're doing a really good job with the Surface line.
Well, how about, though, one of the things I had originally started this by putting up an article from Mashable talking about how, Microsoft, they were saying Microsoft is back. That's the first line of the article. And one of the things it mentions is the HoloLens.
Uh-huh.
What do you guys think of that? Is that interesting, exciting, or who cares?
To me, it's interesting, but it's at this point, it's not must-have. I don't know.
Yeah, we're a couple years out, I think, for VR before it gets to the point where it is something that you've got to have, and it's. I look at it and went, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's like all the VR headsets that are out there now are sort of like the first Palm phones and Pocket PC phones are to what smartphones are today. It's sort of a beginning of the area, but it's not yet rich. And thinking about the future, is 2016 going to be a year for it? I still don't think so. I still think it's going to be at least maybe 2-3 years before it really becomes something that's mainstream useful.
It's got to be cheaper. That's the problem with wearables right now, right? We've all said they're too expensive.
Yeah. I think what the HoloLens does for Microsoft, it gives them a little street cred, in that they're thinking forward. They're also there's a number of companies doing the augmented reality or virtual reality, but this puts them in that game too, regardless of whether or not it's ready for release. Although they say it's pretty close to release, but we'll see.
Have either of you used the Google Cardboard?
I have not.
My son got one, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've got one, and it's pretty amazing what a little $10 piece of cardboard and a couple lenses and a magnetic disc can do for you.
It reminds me of the Viewmaster.
Yeah, it officially works with iOS now, so I want to go get the XL size for my phone and see if I can play with it.
This jump camera that someone has created, with a whole bunch of GoPros to make it possible. Yes, that's still ridiculously expensive. Yeah. However, it's not out of the range of, some people could use this. Like I could see video producers who do that as a living buying one and saying, look, we'll come into your organization and create a VR environmental tour for you so that you could post.
Yeah, if you're a venue that rents out to people for for hall rentals and things like that, that's perfect.
Yeah, and I also like the idea, that we've talked about this all the way back when DVDs became all the craze, back in the 90s, and Christians at that time said, "Oh, won't it be great to be able to put a DVD-ROM in that gives you, video tours of the Holy Lands and things like that." Mm-hmm. Christians aren't willing to put money towards such things usually, and so it's hard to create those kinds of things. But I could see that though. If some company was willing to put together a video tours of the Holy Lands for people, or animations of the Bible Glow was a company that they put animations in their Bible software. They were kind of gimmicky and not the greatest animations, but they were interesting, and I used a few of them in church and showing them off. So this is something that could be interesting, but again, it's past. Or it's future. We're not yet there. But I do think Microsoft's had a good year. And despite the fact that the phone seems to be face-planting all over the place, even their newest 950 is a sort of a ho-hum.
But they're not pushing the 950 either. I don't think I've seen one commercial for it.
No, they don't. They're not putting any advertising. When you compare Apple and Samsung, both spending billions on advertising, and Microsoft, it's like you walk into a Microsoft store. Have you got one? It's over in the corner. That shows you what they think of it.
I think they had these phones in the pipeline, and so they had to produce them. But I think it's not to get into our future stuff yet, but I think they're going to rebrand everything with the Surface phone next year, and it's somehow going to be different, probably hardware-wise, probably a little bit nicer, and that's when they're going to do the big push.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, have you guys got what do you think is maybe the biggest news of the year?
Rick, you go ahead.
Yeah, you had a good one there with Microsoft, because they've definitely had a rebound year, and they're especially in terms of churches. So many churches are based around Microsoft Windows. The other thing though, and maybe I can represent Antoine a little bit since he's not here. I'm still watching closely. I think we're in this transition between what I call legacy platforms and mobile platforms. and
took mine. Darn it.
I'm so sorry. But what I was going to say in particular is that I've been very impressed with more impressed with iOS 9 on iPhone and iPad for some of the things that they've done there, and because ever since 2010 when the iPad first came out, it's been my device of choice. If I'm going to a meeting and just need to take a few notes or something like that, because it's easy to carry. But there are things that iOS 9 introduced, like the ability to add attachments, and there are things that I just couldn't do with the iPad that I can do now. Adding attachments, which seems like, well, that's a no-brainer. You could do that forever on a computer. But if we are transitioning to these new platforms like Android and iOS, these devices have to be able to do those things. Even a larger screen for the iPad Pro, because some people will need a larger screen. That's not for everybody. But and Apple even opening up, not to just allow, well, gosh, if you're going to add this attachment, it's got to be an iCloud drive. No, you can add it from OneDrive, from Dropbox, from Box.net. You can add it from all of these, and I think that's very significant. And then of course the power that's being added to these, where the iPad Pro is being compared to like a Core i5 Intel laptop. I think that's pretty significant, and so I think we're continuing to see this evolution. I don't think it's going to be a quick transition. I do believe we're making the transition. I mean, you look at countries like India, which all of these American companies really want to get big into India, but in India, only 1% of the population has a laptop. The majority of people, their main computer is a cell phone, and that's what they're doing, email and web browsing and so forth. And so, I think not only in the U.S. but worldwide, we're going to see this transition, but it's going to take a while because, what I'm calling legacy platforms, Windows and Macintosh, these are heavily embedded, and there will be continued use for them. I just think it's going to become a smaller and smaller percentage. And so again, going back to Microsoft going in two directions. They're on these mobile platforms. They're working on their own mobile strategy. I don't think we can count them out yet, regardless of what you say of what we think of the Windows Phone, because this continuum is also going to work from smaller Windows laptops. Not laptops, Windows tablets, where you have a small Windows tablet. You have the universal apps. You've got one interface on your tablet, but then you can come back to your to a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse if you want to, and you've got this one device that will do everything for you. I don't think we can count them out yet in regard to mobile, but I do think it's an interesting time to be watching it, and I think that to sum up, 2015 I think was a very significant year in the transition.
It's interesting that you talk about iOS 9, because I've been complaining on the not complaining, but I've been kind of joking on the podcast that my writing software of choice, Scrivener, does not have an iOS 9 version, and people have been wondering what the heck's wrong, and the development's been all screwy. And the developer for Scrivener came out and said one of the biggest drawbacks in developing for iOS for an app like Scrivener is that the way iOS handles text is not anywhere near as robust as it is on OS 10, which is weird.
I'm sure.
And so there's one of the coolest features in Scrivener is the ability to do scrivenings, which you select multiple documents in your doc, and they all string together in the editor window. And he said the way iOS text handling right now is set up, you literally can't do that.
Well,
and that's going to be interesting to see is how iOS 9 has matured, and it's got attachments and things like that, and it's interesting how much more they're going to make the processing of other things that we can take for granted robust enough to be the device.
And that's what it is. It's taking those things we take for granted and putting them in a mobile sphere. But the place where you could push back on the Scrivener developers is, like with Accordance or iOS did not handle right to left script very well in its early days, and so we had a iPhone app, an iPad app that used Hebrew. and of course
Yeah.
now Arabic, and so we had to, and I say we, I had nothing to do with it. I'm not one of the developers, but our developers, had to create that themselves. Now, in this recent update, this recent point update in iOS 9, they came out with better support for right to left languages, Hebrew,
Yeah.
Arabic, and so forth. So but those are some of the kinds of things where a platform doesn't do that initially all that well, and the programmer can come in and create that. It's not as great, when you have to do work that you feel like ought to be in the operating system already. But like I said, we did that with Accordance, and I'm sure the other Bible software companies did too. And so that's that's, like I said, you could push back on Scrivener a little bit.
Yeah, but that's literally, it's like one guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like it's his thing. So,
sure.
But they're working on it. It should be okay.
Wes, what that you said that he took yours.
I apologize, Wes. We should have compared notes ahead of time.
That's all right. Only kind, because I was looking, trying to figure out what the heck was the biggest story, and I was looking on a list from this last year, and I think one of the most interesting things that I saw was someone saying how we've now gotten to the point where we are now post-mobile.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we're at the beginning stage of that. So for the last
one of the Google heads that said that.
Yeah, it was one of the Google heads.
What does that mean, post-mobile?
Well, I'm going to explain it. For like the last 10 years, everybody's been pushing to get mobile. And this is Antron's whole life, right? We're mobile. We need mobile devices, mobile interfaces, mobile everything. And the switch to post-mobile is not that these things aren't important. There's a shift in mentality where it's not the devices which are mobile, it's us. And this is Microsoft's Continuum is part of that mentality, that you start on one device, you put it on OneDrive, you go to another device, and it's there. And Apple's continuity, same idea. So it's us who are mobile, where our eyes are mobile. That's the whole point behind wearables with the screen. So I don't have to pull my phone out of the pocket. I look at the watch, and there's my notification, and I'm moving forward. Or I sit down at my desk. My phone's over on the other side of the room. I get a phone call, and I can answer it. I can answer it on my computer, which I've actually done quite a bit.
So the term post-mobile is really just link bait, and the description is we're really more mobile than we used to be.
I think it's still mobile. I think that was rhetoric.
The idea that the development is not mobile. So he's shifting the meaning of mobile from mobile up until this point has always been the device. In fact, you go over to Europe, and what do they call a cell phone? A mobile, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the idea. It's always been the device, and now they're shifting understanding, and that's what Microsoft and Apple and Google are all working on. Is they're shifting it to understand that it's the people who are mobile, so it's becoming much more person-centric.
Well, there's nothing new in that, though. That's just rhetoric.
But this is the first year where it's been implemented, and you're at the start that it's been implemented, because it's like you still don't even have Windows Phone working with it. This is the first year continuity's actually kind of worked.
Who is it that said this?
One of the Google heads,
like Sundar or somebody.
I have to look it up. But I think
that's cutesy.
Hey, listen, you don't like it, but that's my big story for the year, okay?
No, let me.
I stole his story.
Let me consolidate into what I think it really means, not what because that was just to get headlines. What it really means is we're now truly mobile, whereas before we were mobile at times. You had your phone and your laptop and your tablet, but you still had your desktop at home. And we're starting to now shift into the computer really is the mobile thing. The laptop or the tablet or the phone can really now all become one thing, especially if Microsoft is right with this continuum thing. That's interesting. Isn't that Apple's term too, continuum?
No, they're
continuity.
Continuity, same basic term, but
yeah.
I know it's slightly different, but
that's actually not what he said, Kev. It's not that the mobile device becomes the device. It's I can leave my device anywhere.
That's what he should have said.
But it's not what he meant. It's not what he meant.
I'm trying to.
But that's what's really happening.
His whole point is that I can leave my phone anywhere, and as long as I have access to any device that I have connection to, I can do whatever I want. What?
Besides Antoine, who does that?
That's what he's saying. It's the start of that movement.
Yeah, that's years away. That's not going to happen next year.
I didn't say it's right now. I said it's the start.
Well, I didn't read it. I didn't read it.
I'm
just going by what you're saying.
But that's his point. It's not that this is the device. It's that I'm the user and I go anywhere.
He's wrong. That's fine.
You didn't ask me what your biggest story of the year was. You asked me what my biggest story
Okay, I'm not saying. Was. I'm sorry if I'm insulting you. I don't mean to be. I'm just you're quoting someone else, and based on what I'm reading, or hearing you say about what this person's saying, I'm saying that's wrong. That's just not true right now. It didn't happen this year, and it's not going to happen next year. It might happen in 2, 5.
I just said it's the start. That's the big start. Right. Continuum continuity with all the Google services. It's the start. It's the first point. It's the beginning of the tipping point.
Okay.
Where you just go.
I just don't agree, but that's okay.
That's fine. You don't have to agree. I'm just saying I think that's an interesting thing.
Okay.
And it's something that I do.
Didn't mean to ruffle your feathers. Sorry about that.
I don't know.
I stayed out of it. I was trying to find who said that, and now I can't find it. Because if you do a search online for Post Mobile, it gives you a lot of. It thinks you're trying to say Boost Mobile, and so I got to that.
Yeah, I hate that. That corrects you. No, you don't really want to search this. Here's what you really want to search.
Yeah.
And you say, no, I don't. Yes, you do.
You have to put quotation marks around it.
Yeah. Well, let's look at another one. Looking back, getting more along the lines of what we talk a lot about what we used to talk a lot about, and that is church and Bible technology. And I think that there were actually some real interesting things that took place aside from just updates. Word search 11 shipped, and so that was a decent update. It wasn't a huge update, but it was interesting, and we talked a lot about that. And I went to see a training of it and found that it was mildly interesting, but not significant update, which is fine. BibleWorks updated this year, and I don't seem to have an article about that. I thought I had one on my blog, but I know that if you go to Ministry Tech, you can find my past articles, and if you want to learn more about the new BibleWorks that came out. Olive Tree came up with a brand new Android update, which I was singing its praises because their Android software before this update was, looking really long in the tooth and getting really frustrating to use, and I just quit using it. Sadly, their update was maybe a little too late. I've kind of left Olive Tree behind a little bit just because, I was so Android focused for most of the last 2 years, and their version of their software for Android was so bad so I quit using it. So now I'm just not in the habit of using it, and so that kind of, when you update your Bible software, if you don't get it out there in a more timely fashion, you might lose some customers on the mobile side. But anyway, it is a great update, and so it was well worth your update or your waited. If you're an Android user, go for it. Now I'm sort of waiting for the same thing on the Mac. I do. Olive Tree opens up quicker than most of the other programs, and so I do like to pull it up because it's simple and it opens quickly. But they don't have a good Mac version. The Mac version, a lot of the books that you buy today from Olive Tree, it says it works on Windows, iOS, and Android. And it's like, where's the Mac? Where's your Mac love? And that's just because they haven't updated the engine on Mac. But apparently it's coming. And if LaRosa was here, he might give us more news about that, or he might just say, wait, it's coming. So those are a couple of big updates. What do you guys, any thoughts on that about big software? Was there a big update to Accordance in 2015, Rick?
Yeah, if I can give a shameless plug.
Okay.
Generally we do the biggest updates, every other year, and so in 2014 we had version 11, but in the off years we do a kind of an interim update. It's usually a point update that introduces new features that we just, it's a free update. And so this year to me, what was really significant is that, Accordance introduced something I had been asking for a long time, going back to the days when I was just a regular user, this ability to add graphics specifically graphics to user tools, because I put a lot of my own content in Accordance. I think Accordance is one of the strongest programs for doing this, whether it's user notes or user tools. And I think they made that even stronger. Not only can you do these links now where you can link right back to a source, because what I've always done in the past is I've always said, so-and-so in this commentary says, and now I can put that link directly back to it, or I could even email you the link, and if you have it on your, if you have it in Accordance, you can click on that link in your email, and it will just launch. But for the pictures especially, and I'll give you a particular use case for this. Back in June, I did the Father's Day message because our pastor was out, and my message, I had slides in Keynote. So what I can do now in Accordance is I can create a user tool of my sermons, and I can do an export out of Keynote of graphic files for each one of those slides, and put those slides in the user tool where they would have gone with my sermon. So if I'm referencing this later, maybe I'm teaching it again or preaching again, I've got that content all right there together. And it's even a nice way if you wanted to use Accordance for your preaching manuscript, and you had those slides, right, knowing where they were going to appear right there, regardless of whether you were controlling the slideshow or not. I just think that's a big deal to be able to put images in the user tools. And of course, the great thing about the user tools in Accordance is you can update them on the fly. You don't have to recompile them or anything from an external document. You can just go in and you can just edit them. Students can use them for class notes. I used to sit in my classes, back when I was doing my MDiv, take notes, and taking notes was easy, but occasionally the instructor would draw something on the board, some kind of chart or something. And so then I'd go back home and I'd get in, I think at the time, I don't know if I was using CorelDRAW or Illustrator or whatever, but I'd recreate his chart. And then I would put that into my notes in a word processing file. Well, think about a student today could do the same thing. In fact, a student today, if you're on a mobile device, whether it is a Surface or an iPad or whatever, could actually draw that sitting right there, and then do a screen capture and drop that into the notes. Of course, we don't have that feature of the notes yet in the mobile version, although it's coming.
So you can't edit yet.
Yeah, you can't yet, but that's coming. But I will say, I think that was a tremendous upgrade to user notes and user tools. And I know, Wes, you had some problems with the user notes a couple of weeks ago that got you really frustrated, but I'm hoping that the update that came out a few days ago fixed that. So
yeah, I have to try it out. It was the problem that Rick's talking about is it will, when you have the app open in full screen mode and you tile the windows, it'll push the note editor off to one side, and it's a really cool feature because it changes your workflow. But what was happening is every time I would try to save a user note, Accordance would crash. And I think I lost like a note that I was like an
so you lost 45 minutes worth of work.
Oh my gosh, it was not a fun time. I just sat there and I was like, I need a vacation.
Yeah.
So,
I do think that's been fixed though.
I'm going to try it out today.
Yeah, let us know. But anyway, like I said, for Accordance, that's something I've been asking for years. I said because I counted the other day. I have something like 150 or more user tools that I've created over the years, and I would also like tables. Evidently, tables are complicated, but just to be able to insert the graphics, be able to insert the links to go right back to something that you can even do web addresses too, but to be able to go right back to that source, I think that's awesome.
Two things I want from Accordance is I want to be able to edit my user tools on the mobile.
Yes.
Because all I can do is open them right now. I'm like, I really want to edit this.
Yeah, me too.
And because that's how I do my translation, is I do it in a user tool.
Yeah.
And I just need styles in the editor.
Yeah.
Like, I know they don't want to make it a word processor, but I just desperately want to say, can I just make this heading 2?
Yeah.
Like, that's all I want to, and I know you can do the click on the side, and it'll create.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it manually and change the size and so forth. Yeah, but I'm with you. I would like to see basic indents.
Yeah, things like that. Yeah. And I know they don't want to make a word processor, and I get it because it's not. But those are just two little basic things that I would make me love.
Yeah.
Using those features.
I'm with you.
One other update that came out just this last week. believe it or not, is from BibleSoft, and they're kind of that little engine that is still trying. They came up with something called One Touch, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure yet what it is.
What is it? Is it what platforms? Plural? Is that on?
One Touch, they have Bible. They have it for Windows and Mac, but it's just Mac is just emulating the Windows.
Okay.
Probably
great.
model or something like that. Yeah, Word Search does it, BibleWorks does it, and now BibleSoft does it. And I wish that customers would say, no, we're not going to buy that, and we're not going to buy your software until you come out with a real Mac version. The problem is they'll just say, well, we're not going to come out with a Mac version because we can't afford it. Because that's
Right.
companies that are doing these don't have big enough development budgets, and so they can throw a little money at an emulator, but
They don't even have anything for it on YouTube. I just did a search for it.
yeah, BibleSoft is apparently a real small shop because I've tried to get them to just let me see it, and they say, I don't have time to give you a copy. I don't know how long that takes for them to send me a link to download, or I don't know why that takes so much time, but they just don't have time because of the update, and they're probably having to deal with, how it is. Rick, especially, when you deal with customer problems in the initial update phase, your level of customer support contact goes way up during that initial update period. And so I'm sure that's what they're dealing with, but what's surprising to me is they don't even have time to send a copy out to a reviewer who's going to then write about it. And my reviews are never trash you're a horrible program. I try to show here's what's good about this, and they could improve a few things here and there, but I never say don't buy this. I'm very gracious in my Bible reviews because honestly I want all the Bible platforms to sell really well because that means greater competition and better stuff will come out for all of us. And so I'm happy to help them promote this, but they just don't have time to get it to me. And I told them, well, you're not likely to see anything before November or before February in Ministry Tech Magazine or on our podcast or on my website. And they kind of said, well, that's fine because we won't have time to deal with all the new customers that you might send us anyway.
No, is that a? Please tell me that's a paraphrase.
That's a paraphrase, but that's essentially what he said.
Oh my!
He said we probably couldn't handle a lot more new sales than we are right now. So anyway, I don't know what. I think it's just a new name for Bible for their study, PC Study Bible. It just they don't really explain what One Touch. What does that mean? And when you say Experience Now, it's just you go buy it. And so I don't know. I've bought a lot of Bible software that I plan to use. I don't use PC Study Bible ever. The one free copy that they sent me, I gave away. So
that was like the first DOS-based Bible soft, right? Or Bible software, wasn't it? PC Study Bible?
No, they weren't the first. QuickVerse was the first.
Oh, QuickVerse was the
Bible
first.
study. QuickVerse, I think, may have been the first Bible software. Open Bible was right there with them.
Right.
What about Online Bible?
Online Bible actually was right there alongside them.
That's the first one I had.
Really? Okay.
So that's it. I don't know much to say about One Touch or what it is. They do have Mac and PC versions, but it's probably just a wine. In fact, I asked, well, can I see the Mac version so that I can review it? And he said, no, we don't want a review of it because it's just the same as the PC version. I was like, okay. So
Great.
honestly, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, but then one other thing I think was an interesting development in Bible software this year, and that is the Logos Cloud. Do you guys remember what this is?
Yeah, you had talked about it.
It's basically a subscription model for Bible software where you can have certain levels. Like you buy a level of material, you get the introductory, the intermediate, the advanced level, and that's differentiated by how many different books and what kinds of books you get. Well, Logos Cloud has this, and it ranges from $9 a month. You can get one that's up to $100 a month, but they don't really advertise that. The one that they really push on the high end is the $50 a month premium version, and that's kind of their biggest, and it gets you an awful lot. I don't know that anyone would really need the collector's edition version. But what Logos Cloud gives you is instant access to all the books as long as you keep paying. And something that I just learned, I didn't know this until just last week, Logos had probably, in my opinion, one of the better payment plan systems. You go on their website. In fact, I'll do it now so you can see what I'm talking about. They share my screen. You'd go on the Logos website, and let's say I wanted to buy one of their packages here. All right, and so here's if I wanted to buy this diamond package, which is the next step up from what I own, it would cost me
weeks,
$1,500 almost to get it. But I could get it in a monthly of 4 easy payments of $84.24. It used to be that they just would split it into 12 payments or 14 payments or however many payments.
Right.
Now, what I just found out is in November they now require a 25% down payment.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order for me to get started, I'm going to have to fork over $375 to them. And for a lot of people that would need a payment plan, that's prohibitive, don't you think?
Well, it's kind of like buying a mobile phone.
It is, and I know you don't like the idea, but a lot of people do like the idea of a payment plan.
No, I don't mind a payment plan. It's
Okay.
the subscription I don't like.
Well, you're talking about the subscription model.
Yeah,
Well,
this is not a subscription.
let's
this
put
is a
this
buy.
aside. This is not the subscription. This is the payment plan that I'm
Yeah,
talking.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and they don't charge interest, but they do add $5 a month to the payment, and that's fine. Accordance, you have one too, right, Rick?
Right.
Okay.
But we don't have the 25% down
No,
requirement.
you don't have 25% down. Word search, they have one as well. No
Mhm.
25% down. I don't know if Olive Tree has it or not. Others do this, but Word search, as far as I'm concerned, Logos is the only one that requires the 25% down payment. And if you go into their forums when they announced this back in November, essentially some very loyal customers, people that I've recognized from posting in the forums, were basically saying, well, then I'm probably not likely to buy another major package. When you come up with your new upgrade next year, I won't be able to afford to get the new.
And I think they're probably just caught in a catch-22 because getting it all via payment, you're not getting cash to continue development. And with the stuff that Logos have been trying to push out, I mean, they must be sucking up gobs of money.
Well, here's the thing. Here's what I think's going on. The reason they say they did this 25% down, is they said when you buy 100 books, they have to pay the royalty on those 100 books the day you buy it.
Right, and that's basically
the period. Sometimes it's net 30, net 60, net 90.
Yeah.
That they owe the publisher. But they don't get their money from you in total for 12 months or 18 months or 14 months.
Right.
And they said it causes a cash flow issue. Well,
That's what it said.
Said, oh, that makes me nervous. It sounds like maybe Logos is kind of having a problem with cash flow. And of course, Bob Pritchett immediately said, oh, no, we're fine. We just know that this is an issue and we don't want to get into trouble.
Well, and think about all the stuff that they've done.
Based on what's going on, he said the majority of our customers were relying on these payment plans to buy large packages, and so it's becoming an issue where most of our money is coming in through payment plans. So here's what I think is going on, and see if this sounds reasonable, and it's a bit conspiracy theory. I think that what's going on is that they want everyone to move over to the subscription model, and that making this upfront down payment pretty high essentially is telling folks, well, I can't get in on the new deal and own it, so I'll get in on the new deal, the new stuff when it comes out by going to the payment plan.
And it's cheaper than the monthly payment with no money down.
Does that make sense?
I don't necessarily think it's a conspiracy. I think it might be an interesting business push.
Well, I say conspiracy because I think it's something they're doing privately and quietly without telling
Well, yeah, it's the same thing Adobe's doing with all their stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You can buy Lightroom,
They
but
want us all to go to a
mobile with
subscription
it.
model.
Right.
And so, again, I don't know. I don't have any inside information. Let me make it perfectly clear. Even though I contact and talk with, Bible producers on a regular basis from most of the big companies, I don't have any inside information about this. None whatsoever.
Gotcha.
Nor would they tell me if I did, because I'm sort of persona non grata as far as learning stuff. I used to get the beta, the big new beta coming out, months ahead of time in order to play with it. Now I get it, if I'm lucky, 30 days ahead of time, because I announced something that they accidentally put on their website. I publicized it, and they didn't like that I publicized it, even though I was just publicizing what they put on their website. And ever since then, there's sort of been a line of demarcation for me. But
and Kev, I do think they've been just blowing through development money.
Well, I don't know.
The development of the cloud and all the modules that they put in the last year that we've talked about with Logos, and they've got to convert all their modules over to something that makes sense. So I know they're just blowing through cash. So and the royalties people, they're not going to accept a payment plan.
Yeah, I don't have any. I don't know one way or the other. I'm speculating on what I just said here. As far as whether they're blowing through cash, I don't have any clue what their finances are like. And I like Logos. It's the program that I use primarily. I'm often very critical. Sometimes you're more critical of the ones you love. So this is when I start up software in order to do serious Bible study. That's what I start first. And I'd say that knowing that fans of the other programs might think I'm biased towards them or something. Maybe that's why I'm more critical publicly of them, so that people know that. But anyway, it's interesting. Now you can get the Logos Cloud, or you can get Logos Now, which I'm also a subscriber of that. And what that gives you is access to their new features immediately. Like I don't have to wait for Logos 7 to get new features. When they are finished with it, they put it out to Logos Now users. It's sort of like we're paying them to beta test their software.
I was about to say, that seems a little weird.
Yeah, it is a little weird. But what it also gives me access to is their
look at that
Logos web app, which is a lot better than it used to be, but still nowhere near where it needs to be. But you get some of the cool features, the passage guide, exegetical guide, Bible word study. Anyway, I didn't want to go that deep into Logos, but I just thought that was an interesting development over the last year. And then last one. This is just very personal, and that is the magazine I wrote for many years, Christian Computing Magazine, is now Ministry Tech. That happened this year because Outreach.com bought us, and the man. The editors, are a little bit less involved than they used to be, so it'll be interesting to see where that's going in the next year.
Gotcha.
I know now when you do go to Ministry Tech, this is something new after Outreach bought us, and I like it, and that is when you go here, you see features, and look at that right there, Electronic Bible Study. And so very quickly and easily you find my articles.
Oh, awesome. There you go.
I really like that because that puts me sort of front and center almost. But
one click.
Yeah, well, 1, 2.
2 clicks.
Well, clicks. a hover, and a click. Say that.
You're 1.5 touch.
I'm 1.5. Yes.
1.5 touch. BibleSoft is going to come after you for using their trademark.
Anything new for last year before we jump into? We've only got a few minutes to kind of guess what's going to happen next year.
Well, one thing that we can't forget, whether or not it's really proved its point of case, wearables seem to really take off this past year, and a lot of that's the Apple Watch, but you saw a lot of other, you saw a lot of Android devices before that, and I'm someone asked me the other day, do I need an Apple Watch? My answer to that is still no. It's whether or not you want one or not, and that would be the same for any of the Android watches as well. But still, it's that was, I saw, I had a Pebble watch a couple of years ago, but I was the only one I knew wearing one.
Mm-hmm.
Now I see them in public. and I think 2015 was a significant year for wearables like that. And of course, if you're not wearing a watch, everyone's got a Fitbit or Microsoft Band or something like that as well. So we're also all tracking our health.
I gotta say, my neighbor has switched to Android Wear, and he's got it paired with his iPhone, and he's got a Pebble Steel that he's going to let me borrow. And you all know how much I hate having things on my wrist, but I'm going, I think I just want to see what the experience is like. Yeah. And I don't have any money invested in it, so I'll deal with it. And so even I'm looking at the wearable going, maybe we have to go forward. And I do got to say, Kev, I set up Slack for my American Baptist Churches of New Jersey team, and folks are using it wonderfully. There's one member on the team who has an Apple Watch, and he says, I love Slack and my Apple Watch together. Because literally all I have to do is look at my wrist.
Oh, okay, just because he sees the notification. Okay.
Oh, it comes in and he's done, and he looks down.
My complaint would be that Slack doesn't work as well as it could on the Apple Watch.
Yeah, they need to improve it, but at least you have to open a device.
And that's his whole thing. He doesn't necessarily want to reply. He just wants to be like, okay, I got the information.
Yeah, I'd like to be able to reply. I wish they would.
Eventually they'll get there.
What it allows me to do, sometimes on our Slack group, you guys will be having a conversation, and I'll be somewhere where I can't respond, but it'll come up on my wrist, and so I can at least see it, right. And I can at least know what's going on and respond later.
Yeah. And it is amazing how that check the wrist feature, we are so enculturated, even post-watch, that's not considered generally obnoxious. Unless you've been talking to someone and people are wondering if you're thinking about how much longer I have to do this. But generally, if you're in a meeting and you just look at the watch and look up, nobody cares.
Right.
Whereas if you pull the phone out, everybody's like, put the phone away. And so it's just not considered as rude. So it's kind of interesting.
Looking forward, real briefly, do any of you have a big guess as to something? What would be like a big headline? What's going to be the big next year at this time? What will we be talking about as the biggest headlines of 2016?
I'll give you one. The driverless cars. There'll be at least one of these companies, probably Google, that will come out of testing, and it probably a limited run. It may just be a taxi service. Who knows? But I think we'll see that. Probably in California. They just passed some new laws that's going to have some effects elsewhere as well, and I think we're gonna see it come out of the testing phase in 2016.
Okay.
At least on a limited level.
Wes, what would be your big headline for next year?
I've been thinking about this. I really think by this time next year we're just going to be talking about iPad Pro 2. And all the features. Because it just seems to be like clockwork and to go through. And because you guys, I've actually held one now, and you guys have used it, and that might be the tipping point where Surface and iPad Pro becomes the point where, okay, this is my home device now, or even my desktop device now. And so I think that's going to be the big one. I think negatively, we might be talking about the effect of hacking on the 2016 presidential election.
Huh.
Because Anonymous has already declared war on Donald Trump, and who knows what the heck is going to happen, beyond that. But I think that's going to be a negative thing. Is where there's Mr. Fuck. You just outed yourself.
Yeah, I guess
you're Rick, no longer anonymous.
Are you the man that they've patterned that AMC TV show after, or are you?
Mr. Robot?
Mr. Robot.
I don't know. I just, keep that handy. I keep that handy here on my desk, for occasional videos I need to make.
There you go. But I do think that's going to be part of the cycle. Is what is the impact of this type of hacktivism going to have? Especially when the culture in general is so charged to just see everybody as enemy. So it'll be interesting, and to me that's kind of depressing, but I do think it's going to have an impact.
Well, here's what I think of the headline, the sleeper headline, and I don't think everybody's going to really see it as a huge development, but I do think it's going to be I think this past year, the Amazon Echo, this is kind of a bad picture. I wish I had taken a better photo of it for my review now that I look at this. But I have one of these, and I really don't use it that much because it's just not integrated into my lifestyle for some reason. But I think if Amazon took this software that they're using and put it on a phone, like they release an Android version or an Apple version,
or an Apple Watch version,
even better, it is so much better than Google and Siri's voice capability.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
It just is. It's just excellent. Now, I still haven't yet figured all that it can do, and I still don't. You have to sort of learn all that it can do. So if they can somehow create a way that it can pretty much do what you want it to do without having to think hard about, well, let's see, how do I have to ask this question in order to get it to answer me right? It's pretty good at most of that right now.
Right.
But and the speakers, it sounds pretty good. The hardware itself is pretty good. It's got this little remote, and what I ought to do is take this remote and put it in, the other part of the house where I can't speak to the Echo and use it where I can hear the Echo, but it can't hear me.
Gotcha.
But I just have a feeling that somebody is going to crack this nut, and I think it's going to be Amazon, which is sort of surprising because a lot of people still think of Amazon's just Walmart for the internet. But it's not. Amazon's becoming a very interesting tech company. Yeah, they really messed up bad with that phone. That was a terrible, terrible product, But if they could have taken the software that drove that phone and just said, "Here, Android world, here you go, have fun," that would have been huge. That would have been the Fire software, with the camera, and it's sort of integrated with this a little bit. I kind of have a feeling Amazon, by the end of next year, Amazon might be the company that everybody's sort of looking at as the joke among geeks is who's going to be the what's the term in Terminator?
Skynet.
Skynet.
Who's going to be the Skynet? Who's going to be the dominant player that might one day be able to take over the world? And we say, is it Apple? Because they've got billions of money just sitting around, but it's all sitting in foreign banks, and there's no way the government's going to let them bring it over here without taxing it. Is it going to be Google? Because Google's a verb now. It's not even just a thing. I sort of have a feeling because of this technology that Amazon might be that one. So who knows? We'll see.
Well, they're the ones making the drones. So
yes, true. There you go, Kevin. I think, related to what you're saying in general, all of the AI is going to continue to get better. And I don't know that we're going to see Skynet happen, but there will come a point. There'll come a point where you'll forget that you're talking to a device. I think it'll get that good. I don't know if that'll happen in 2016, but that'll happen, I think, probably in the next 5 years, because all of these companies where they're serving, every time you say something to Siri or Google Now or Cortana or the Echo and it doesn't understand, I assume that they're analyzing what went wrong so that they can fix that and have, to where I think there'll come a day where you can't say the wrong thing to any of these devices.
That's the point I was trying to make, is when that happens.
Amazon's closer, yeah.
Yeah, Amazon seems to me to be closer to it now than Google and Apple is. But if I was ranking them, I would say it's Alexa, then Google Now, and then Siri. I think Siri's still last. I just don't think they're as good.
Siri is so hit or miss. When it's on, it's amazing. And when it's off, I hate it.
That technology was better before Apple bought it.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Did you ever use the app before they bought it?
Mm-hmm.
It was so much better then. Why don't they just, rewind the clock to that day and then go forward from there? I don't know what they did to that, because I liked that app really well.
I think they've improved it some since then. I mean, they initially cut features, making reservations and things like that the original Siri would do, but they've continued to improve the AI over time.
Okay.
But I think part of it is the number of users. The more it's increased, the worse it's gotten. It rebounded a little bit with iOS 9 to where I can kind of use it while I'm driving in the car now, and I do love the Hey Siri, and I can actually, my phone's probably going to start up now. And I love
yours and everyone else's.
Yeah. So I
I'm on it, I've turned it off.
do like that when I'm driving. I mean, it's like truly hands-free. I don't have to press a button to activate. I bypass the Bluetooth UI or interface in my car. But man, when it gets something wrong, it just is so annoying, especially with like names of towns.
Well, and I think that's why a lot of folks are like, I don't know, maybe no one's like me, but here's why I don't use it often, and that is because it's frustrating when it's wrong. And so I just say, it's just easier for me to wait. I drive in an area where there's lots of stops. I'll quickly stop, type in what I want, and then, it's just quicker. Instead of me trying to figure out, well, did I say it the right way? Well, maybe it didn't recognize me. Maybe if I just repeat it. No, I repeated it, and it was pretty clear, and it didn't quite get, and it's just annoying.
Yeah, it gets annoying. It really does. But you said the Fire is close.
Well, the Fire, I don't know.
The Echo is
close. Amazon Echo software, with Alexa. Alexa! In case someone's listening to this, I just woke up their Echo.
And by the way,
it's that sensitive too. By the way, it really.
By the way, worst marketing campaign ever. Amazon Echo. We're Skynet in the making. That just.
You said that?
No, but that would be the worst advertising campaign ever.
What's fun is to ask them all, "Are you Skynet?" and hear their responses. It's somebody.
Oh, really? I haven't never tried that.
Yeah, ask Siri and then Google Now, and then ask Alexa. No, they really need to put that Alexa on the phone.
Are you Skynet?
I'm sorry, Wesley. I'm afraid I can't answer that.
Oh, wow, that's all they gave you?
That's all she gave me.
Usually it's something like Skynet came on this. I'm just a phone or something like that.
Hey, Siri, are you Skynet?
I can't answer that.
She can't answer that.
But hey, Siri, give me walking directions to Mordor.
Head south along the River Anduin, turn left at Mount Mindalluin and continue along Minas Morgul. If you pass the Mountains of Shadow, you've gone too far.
That's a new one. I didn't get that one before.
All right,
hey, Cortana, are you Skynet?
A circle may be infinite, but my answers are not.
I don't think she even understood the question.
Yeah.
What do you got, Kev?
All right, here we go. Okay, Google, are you Skynet? Of course, it doesn't give you a voice answer.
What did he say?
It gave me a search with a YouTube video showing me the answer to it.
I don't think any company wants to actually have any connection to Skynet.
I guess not.
It's because I had... shut up. Okay, Google, are you Skynet? That's funny because it's not giving you anything. I think maybe they've all turned this off. They all had funny answers at first, but now they're not.
They realize that's probably not a good idea.
But I just asked Alexa this last week, and it was something like, I don't know. I can't remember what it was. But
wait a minute. The only AI that gives an answer to the question is Alexa.
Yeah.
So that pretty much just gives the answer. Amazon's got the runs, they got the UI, they're it.
So, well, anyway, one last prediction. Let me just throw in here. Last week I said my pick for a gift would be the new Pixel C. I'm going to backtrack on that a little bit. I've actually read now a lot of the reviews, and I've only found one that likes it, and everybody else hates it. But I will say this. I found this article, Pixel C was, I think, Wes, you're the one that put this up here.
Yep.
I think there's something really interesting that's going on maybe behind the scenes in Google between Chrome OS and Android. And when the story of that finally gets written, I think that might be like movie quality story. I think there's something really strange happening there.
They said they're going to consolidate them, right?
Yeah, but even that, I don't know, it just seems weird because Chrome OS is by all accounts, in the educational market. And
couldn't they do that with Android tablets?
The business market, it's a big success. Why in the world would they mess it up when it's such a success?
You think there's some internal politics going on?
Like it, and so they're trying to get rid of it.
But is there anything that you can do in Chrome that you couldn't do in Android? I mean, you can run Chrome from within the browser on Android.
But it's not that, Rick. It's for the education market. It's the fact that it is almost administratorless.
Yeah. You log into a Chromebook with your credentials, and everything that you've done to ever set it up shows up within 10 minutes.
And it auto updates.
It's simple. It auto updates. If you get a problem or some weird problem, just power wash it, and it's back within 10 minutes. It's back to normal.
Like Rick, when I don't know if you were on the podcast, but we were talking about this consolidation, and I was talking about my wife's school before. This was before she was teaching there, but one of the teachers was literally running an unpatched version of Windows XP on her classroom computer.
Oh, I'm sure.
And because there's no staff. You can't afford the staff to do that. These Chromebooks, you turn them on, update, done.
Yeah.
Well, they announced that they were going to make Android apps run on Chrome OS, and that's really just kind of gone nowhere.
Yeah.
And then now they say they're going to consolidate the two. It's like that's almost a bow in the different direction. And I'm like, what's so? I guess the tech press is like, why do you have two? And that's because few of them really use Chrome OS. They try it for a little while just to review it. But if they've ever really sat down and worked with it for a month, for most of us, the three of us, it's never going to be a sufficient solution. But for most educators, our local school system here in Burke County has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on Mac products. And all of them basically do one thing. All of them open up a browser on the internet. And that's all.
But here's what Google could do, though. If they diminish Chrome and they put those ease of administration features into Android, there's more money to be made by focusing on Android over Chrome, because with Android you always have the Google Store where you can continue to purchase things for it. To me, it would make sense from a bottom line level to just put those ease of use features into Android and let Chrome slowly be incorporated into it.
Well, and getting on the church technology bent of what we're talking about here, with things like the Logos web app, and then I've just pulled up. I got off because I was entering my password. Didn't want anybody to see it. Word Search has a really good online program. I think if you're doing online Bible study, Word Search is the best option right now.
Really?
It's most like its regular software than anything else. And so I really like it. When I'm doing online Bible study, this is what I open.
And it works really well on Chrome OS?
Yeah, it works great.
Cool.
There's absolutely no problems whatsoever. It's basically a reader, but they've got word study tools here to make it possible to do this kind of stuff. And so I really like it. We've speculated, I think, in the past about where they're going. I don't know, but I think, and then Logos, maybe they're sort of going in that direction too, because when you open this looks just like Logos. Now it's missing some features. The whole documents feature, if we were on the desktop, I'm not going to open it because it takes forever to open, but this would be populated with tons of stuff, and right now it's got nothing. Check back soon. And the tools, it's got 3 out of like 20 different tool options.
So they're working on it.
But they're working on it, and they slowly add new things. They said every month they're going to add new stuff. It's coming out to be about once every other month they get new such stuff, or they'll get one little minor thing that I don't use will get added. Like, I seldom use the text comparison tool, but search is in here. Your library is in here. Now their homepage, it's not here, but I almost never open the homepage in Logos either. So I guess what I'm saying is
how's the speed compared to the desktop app?
What's that?
Logos? How's the speed of the web app compared to the desktop app in Logos?
Well, if you've got a fast internet connection and a fast computer, they're equivalent.
Okay.
Now once you get it started, it's much quicker to load the website than it is to load the software.
That was my question. You always complain that it's so slow to load.
I just hit open. I just hit it, Logos, it's now telling me it's signing in. And we'll see how long it takes to actually load. It's still preparing my library.
And how quickly does Accordance load?
Synchronizing.
Be nice.
It's still synchronizing.
I could probably open and close Accordance about 10 times before it goes.
And now it's finally available to me.
And for the record, Accordance does check your credentials when you log in, but it does it that quickly.
Pretty cool.
So,
Nice.
what did that take me? About 30 seconds on a Core i3 or Core i5 Mac. I think that's what I'm running.
Too long when your time is limited.
You're right, but a lot of people just open it and leave it open. So,
Yeah, it just stays in the background as long as
I've
it's
got a 1.4 gigahertz Intel Core i5 4th gen processor. So that tells you how it's a little slow. The web app, I'll close it and
open it. But I think that's interesting. Is that the web app loads fast.
And it's ready to go right
now.
Almost now.
Now?
Well, there's one book that's taken forever to load, and I think that might be my internet probably because
we're sucking up bandwidth with the.
Yeah. Normally it doesn't take this long to load. I don't know why this one still says loading, but.
But you're
here
okay.
In our neighborhood Chrome here in our neighborhood charter, just every once in a while it just like it's like it says, "Oh, I'm tired. I'm not doing anything for about a minute," and then a minute later it all starts working. And I think that's what we're dealing with is the combination.
Someone's BitTorrenting about 15 HD movies right now.
It may be, charter it's a shared connection. Well, we've gone really long with this, and so we give you extra because the next 2 weeks we won't be here, and. For the very few of you who are left watching this, we really appreciate you sticking with us this long. We enjoy doing this every week. Sometimes it feels like we're just talking to each other, but we know that there are a number of you who watch this later on after the fact on YouTube. We hope that you'll hit the subscribe link and you'll share it with others. If you like the video, hit like and let us know what you think. Put comments. Maybe what's your biggest story of the year? What do you think was the most significant thing that happened in 2015, and what do you predict will be the biggest thing that will happen in 2016 in church and Bible and general technology? Go to Theotek.com if you want to see our past stories and get links to things that we won't probably put a lot of extra stuff with this one, but last week's all of our picks for gifts. I put links to everything that people talked about last week, so you might want to go check that out. And let me just say that I would like to recommend that you go to your favorite Bible software website and go to the one that your pastor uses if you're not a pastor, and go buy him a gift certificate for $1,000 worth of books for Christmas. That's what I would recommend that you do. And I think all of them allow you. Does Accordance allow you to give gift certificates?
Absolutely.
In fact, us and WordSearch do, and I think
we've got a promotion going on right now. Second shameless plug, where we have 3 ways to give Accordance because it's the gift that keeps on giving even after the wrapping paper is gone. In fact, there's no wrapping paper for it. But there are 35% off collections for new users. And also, if you spend $150 on yourself, you get a free starter collection to give to someone, or you can do gift certificates. So 3 ways to give Accordance.
Okay, and so Logos has similar kinds of deals. BibleSoft has their new version. BibleWorks, you can probably get. I don't know if they have gift certificates or not. I know WordSearch does. Olive Tree has some great deals going on.
Yeah.
All of the different major players. PC Study Bible. Pocket PC. I know they've got some great deals. I picked up a couple of things. By the way, Pocket Bible on the Windows Store is the best Windows Store app, Bible app. There's none better.
For Floridian.
If that's what you're looking for, that's the one to get right now.
Cool.
Now, any Windows tablet can probably run Accordance real well, or BibleWorks, or WordSearch. I'm not going to say that about Logos. I can't, as much as I like Logos, slow Windows tablets will not run Logos very well at all. Anyway, so thanks for watching, and we'll be back on January 8th, and come back and see us, and contact us. Let us know what you think about the podcast. Put links, or put comments in the on the website or in YouTube.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.